in this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to use MateSmart to create an automated work order system. Okay, so I'm logged into the program. I'm going to go to the work order screen. And what I want to do here is I want to create what we call a work order template. And we're going to use that to create clones of itself, which will be new work orders. So what is a work order template? Probably easiest just to create one and walk through it that way. So I'm going to select an existing work order. I'm going to right click on it. And I'm going to say Save Work Order as Template. Okay, when I do that, it prompts me for a name. I'll just go with the default name. And I don't really see anything else happen here. The row is still selected, so I can click Cancel. Now you'll note there is a file attachment and there are details on this work order. These will be carried over to the template and will print and regenerate automatically from the template. Okay, so I'll cancel that. So let's just see what the template does. So if I come over here and go to Create Work Order from Template, I'll notice I just have this one in here. If I had multiple, all the ones I checked would create new work orders from themselves when I click Create Work Order. Now, if there are parts linked to the template, it'll also use the parts automatically. So in this case, we just created a new work order from that template. And I'll go ahead and bring it up in the print preview so we can kind of get a look at it. So there we are. There's our template, or actually our actual work order resulting from the template, I should say. It has all of its notes. And then if we had the program set to print attachments with the work order, which is a setting that we can set right here, then the attachments would have come up with it. Okay, so let me go ahead and get rid of that. All right, so the next thing we can do with this work order template is we go to the Options menu item and go to Parts Usage, Manage Parts Usage Links. So what I want to do is I want to hang a part onto this work order template. So whenever a new work order is created from the template, it'll automatically use those parts. So I pick my cost center, my account charge, my work order template, and now I need to pick the part. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and I'll just pick some of these flights. I'll say use. How many? I'll say 2. And click Save. Okay, so now we have that linkage built. And just to demonstrate that one more time, if we go to Create Work Order from Template, we'll notice it does use the parts. Okay, and if we look at our work order, we'll see that we do have a parts list on here, right here. Okay, so, well that's nice, but what I really want is an automated system. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. In order to delete it, I'm going to go to my parts usage screen right here, and I'm going to go ahead and take this part off, and when I delete it, it goes back into stock automatically. I don't have to adjust my inventory. It's all done automatically through the program. So I'll go ahead and delete this. I know my messages are kind of off the screen here. Try to pull them back. Okay, so what we want now is an automated system. So I'm going to go ahead and leave my work order screen, and I'm going to go into the meter screen. Okay, so what is a meter? A meter is a unit of something. It can be anything I define. In this case, I'm going to say every 25 cycles, for example. I want to do something. I'm not saying what. I'm going to give this the name 25 cycles. My meter value will be 25, and my units will be cycles. Now, if we need more units, you can add all the units you want right here. They can be anything. Okay, you'll notice that there are multiple places to enter meters under this 1 meter name. So I could have this trigger every 25 cycles, or every 3 days, or every 5,000 revolutions, or whatever I want. So I can put a lot of meter values into 1 meter name, and then just apply the meter name, and whichever one hits first on that piece of equipment will trigger the new work order automatically from the work order template that we created earlier. Okay, I know that's a lot to probably digest, so let me step through this. I'll click Save. Okay, so I have my definition. Doesn't do anything by itself. What we got to do now is link it to a work order template. There's our one and only work order template. And we'll get our meter name, 25 cycles. We'll link them together. And now the last step is to generate the meter readings. So the meter readings would be this meter on this piece of equipment. So it could be a physical meter you go out and look at and read, or it could be internal to the equipment. It could actually be values that are generated by, say, for example, the PLC that's running that piece of equipment, the programmable logic controller, that is, the little computer that actually runs this equipment. So MateSmart can actually read the data out of that equipment, regardless of where it is, out on your plant floor. If you have a, say, a water treatment facility, you could read it from your PLCs out there, wherever they happen to be, as long as there is a link between the MateSmart computer or server and that equipment. And this is commonly used nowadays. It actually travels through Ethernet, which is a very common protocol to use for networks. So it's generally readily available through various OPC server programs like RS Links, Wonderware, and there are countless others. And they all use the same communication method called OPC, which stands for OLE for process control. Basically a big phrase for letting the machines and the equipment talk to a desktop computer. So MateSmart has the ability to do that. And I'll demonstrate that in a moment. For now, let's go ahead and set a current reading, because we could just enter our readings manually if we want. We don't have to use the OPC method. We can just enter them manually. And whenever this particular meter reading, the current reading right here, 6, is 25 or more above the last time this was performed, and last performed means last time the work order was closed against this piece of equipment, what was the reading? And we'll get to that in a moment. And that's also all handled automatically by MateSmart under the covers. Okay, so once this is, say, for example, 50 or more, since our last one was 0, MateSmart's going to automatically generate a work order and either just add it to the work order screen list, or I should say, email it and or print it. Okay, so it's all automated. You only have to set this up once. Okay, so that's fine. We could enter these manually, but let's go ahead and use the OPC method, because we want fully automated work. We want our equipment telling us when it needs work. We want MateSmart to look at that and respond appropriately. I'm going to go to the Options menu, Manage OPC Links. I know I'm having to drag the screen back over here, but bear with me. Okay, so I have 2 screen tabs. I'll start with the number 1. I click New. I pick an OPC server. Now we have an OPC simulator on this test computer here in our shop. And it's called Matricon. It's a pretty nice system. Okay, so I've chosen my server. Now I'm going to pick an OPC item. Now, in RS Links, they call these topics. The other various OPC server programs may call them something else. But essentially, it represents a memory address in whatever the device is that you're working with, whether it's a PLC 5, a SLC 500, or whatever it may be that you're using to control your equipment. Okay, so in this case, I'm just going to pick one of these. I'll try this. And again, this is simulation data, so it can go negative, positive. MateSmart only does count up logic. So it's counting it up. It does have a rollover value, which it does keep track of too, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so this may give us some erratic data, but hopefully it'll be able to make the point of what it's capable of. All right, so we've defined it. We've defined the memory address. And now what we're going to do is we're going to link it to our meter. And so essentially by linking it, what MateSmart's going to do is, instead of us having to enter the current reading, MateSmart's going to read it from your PLC based on a scan interval that you have control over between 1 and 60 minutes. And that'll be the last step we take. So I click Save. And we look at this and we see, oh, the current reading is 6. Well, we know that because we had it 6 here before. But let's click this Update All Readings, see if it changes. Okay, well, it went down. It went down to 2. Well, that's because we probably just started reading this particular meter. Now it's going up to 6. So it's moving up. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to close that screen and I'm going to turn on my meter scanner. And the way we do this, we go into Program Configuration, Configuration More. I'm just going to turn all these on. When I exit the screen, it saves them. And I'm just going to sit here and see what happens. Okay, at some point, the value will get up high enough to where it will generate our new work order, and it'll just add it to our work order screen. Now, once we have the work order in place, we do need to determine how do we want to close a meter connected work order. And we have various options for that. So if I go to my meters menu item, options, I can either have the program prompt me for the current and last performed readings, or I can choose one of these other options. Okay, last performed means when did I close the work order that was automatically generated from the meter. That's what that means. Okay, and then we have this option here. Okay, if we do update current equals last performed, I see MateSmart's generating this thing right now. Nope, it sent it out to a printer. Okay, well that's all right. Here it is. It generated the work order. It hit its meter value right when I was in the middle of my talk about how to close the work order. But as you can see, it is generating it. It's saying right here, work order assignment. I guess I could cancel that print job. Okay, so that came out on the printer, but it could have gone to an email just as easily. So you could do it either way. And notice there it is. It added to the list. It got all of its details. Everything came with it. Okay, so we can go ahead and look at it. Bring it up here in print preview. And you'll also notice it even drew the parts out of stock for you automatically. Okay, so that is a pretty slick way of managing your preventive maintenance. Fully automated, based on equipment demand. You don't have to worry about over maintaining, under maintaining. You're always going to get the right work order at the right time with the right parts list. Okay, so how do we close this thing? And what are the implications of these? So under our options, update last performed equals current reading. Well, that kind of means as soon as this thing came out, this work order came out, we went and did the work and closed it. Bam. Okay, well, you might want to do that. Update current equals last performed plus interval. Okay, this one here is basically saying I always do the work on time, no matter what. Okay, basically it's saying, in this case, if I check this one and then close this work order, it'll show that we were prompt in getting this done and we're complying with our requirements. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. Before I do this, I'm going to run back here to the meter screen, and we're going to look at this, and we see that it says, oh, there's a work order in progress. Our current reading is 78. Okay, since there's a work order in progress, it's not going to duplicate it again. So you're not going to get double work orders out of this ever. It's impossible. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close this. I'll go to labor hours, say it's done, click save. And I've got some dates I need to adjust here just slightly. So I'll go ahead and just do that. Okay, so that closed. Now if I go back to my meter, you'll see it's no longer in progress. And it's ready for the next session. Okay. And notice it says current reading and last performed, they're the same, which we'd expect, because when we initiated this whole thing, okay, it just triggered it again. When we initiated this whole thing earlier, we were at 0 for our last performed. So we'll go ahead and cancel this. Well, as you can see, this thing works quite well. So if you want an automated system for your work order management, choose MateSmart. Thanks for watching.